has given me this opportunity to sort of get into these type of things, which I quite love, really. So we can just have a conversation. As Antonia said, I've been doing what I'm in mid-60s now. I've been doing what I've been doing really since I was about 17 or 18. So it's a few years. I've worked in professional sport. I played football when I was young, and then turned professional boxing when I was 27. Ran on professional sprint circuits, and then lifted in strongman contests around the world. Played football at about 11 stone. Actually started boxing and boxed at about 14 and a half stone. Lifted on a strongman circuit at about 23 stone. And had I really known anything about sumo wrestling, I could have continued to eat, because I quite enjoy eating, to be fair. So I loved that little chat before there from Carl. And I'll obviously be coming down to wherever you are, trying to get a sandwich or all that type of thing. Good to see Adam, by the way. Good to see Adam. I haven't seen Adam for a while, and top man, top lad. It was always a pleasure to train you, and it's lovely to see you doing well. Basically, I'm a helper. That's exactly what I am, really. I'm a philosopher and I'm a helper, and I move in all different environments, whether it be business or sport, all different sports. I've been fortunate in the world of sport to coach Olympic gold medalists in rugby, winning leagues and cups in the UK, in France, won European Cup, be involved in World Cup, all manner of different things through the years, really. And I've really enjoyed it. I'm very, very lucky because I enjoy what I do. Every day is like work to me. It's just another day where I can meet people and talk to them and try to help them in some way, really. Help them to become more effective and then maybe more efficient. But that's where it starts. So in this particular chat, because we haven't got long, I thought I would just talk about, in a way, sort of three things really I've got written down here. One is purpose, the next is preparing to do, and the next is doing effectively. And that kind of works for everybody, doesn't it? So you've all got a purpose. You know, I've been really impressed with so far, and I feel the energy coming out of you all, and that's brilliant. I love that. And lovely, bright ideas and what you do. You're obviously passionate about and all that stuff, which is great. But at this moment in time, over the last year or so, and I've been isolated for a long time this year, and I had to get used to all this type of thing. And I love being one-to-one with people. And I love being in dressing rooms. I love being on training fields. I love being in boardrooms and all that type of thing. So I've had to get used to this, which I found quite easily, really, because I just pretend I'm talking to one person, and that's it. So that's great. But we all need a purpose, don't we? We all need a purpose. And you've just got to ask yourself, no rhetorical questions here. What's your purpose? What's your true purpose? What do you want to do? What do you think you're best suited to do? Do you play to your strengths? You know, what do you like working on your own? What do you like working with people? Are you good in that setting? Are you a very compatible type person? Are you a good listener? Are you there for people? Or do you show the people that you truly care? Bit cliched stuff here, but people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And to know how much you care, they've got to get to know you, haven't you? Got to be a relationship type of thing. Do you have good relations with, the people that you work alongside, your colleagues, your friends, with your customers? Do you recruit your colleagues on a daily basis? Do you recruit the customers that you have, the people you work with on a daily basis? Do you continually try to make them feel good about themselves? It's got to be authentic, of course. It can't be highfalutin nonsense. It's got to be, if you're going to praise somebody, it's got to be for good reason. If you're going to listen to somebody, you want to be engaged yourself in it totally. So, are you a good listener? Do you listen? Do you listen, or are you just waiting to talk? All that type of thing that we've been through in the past. And it's very important. So I found that the main thing in my life, kind of, in my business world, is it's like a homage to effectiveness. It's a bit, it's not even business speak. Don't know where that comes from, but it's true. Homage to effectiveness. So everything we do, we want to do well. And if you know, as evolution sort of pointed in the right direction, things keep changing. We need to keep answering different questions all the time. We need to be ready for that. So are we constantly changing? Are we constantly ready to step into the fray and to be able to handle things, you know? So from my world in sport, what I try to do, I would look at you lot there, and it's just about the size of the first team squad there, Adam. Just about there, the whole team there. So if we're in the dressing room, both in training and dressing room building up for games, what would we do? Well, we'd have a look at the strategy that we need to employ to get a good result. Part of the strategy will become tactics. Tactics are slightly different from strategy. And as far as tactics tend to be different for the team that you play. You need to look at their strengths and weaknesses and be able to negotiate that in the best possible way. And it's exactly the same in my business life as well. You need to look at different colleagues on the customer side of things and see how best to service them. It must be bespoke. It's a fantastic word, bespoke, and it's a one maybe we don't use as often as we should. And if we do use it, we've got to mean it. It can't be straight off the shelf, you know? Christine, you've got such and such to do. Bum, bum, bum. Christine, certain age, certain this is what she does. Press a button and get a printout and just give you. Can it work? It doesn't work. Definitely doesn't work. Or it doesn't work optimally. Doesn't work optimally. So we need to have a look at all those things. And then when I've got you in the room here, and you're from all different backgrounds, think of yourself as a player in different positions. And I want to know what your skills are. And I want to have a look at an environment that allow those skills to flourish. Are you in an environment that allow your skills to flourish at the moment? Are you playing to your strengths? Do you have an opportunity every day to play to your strengths? Do you have that? Do you constantly appraise things? Is there a quality control from within you? Do you constantly look at what you do and say, is it working? Is it working? Is there something that I should be stopped doing because I'm investing energy into that and I'm not getting any return for it? Is there something I should maybe keep doing because it's, you know, tried and tested and it's worked well and I can evolve that, keep doing so that it gets better anyway? And is there something completely different I can start doing in my particular environment? So ask those questions all the time. And ask the questions of you as my players. Ask that all the time. And look at your preparation, how you live your life. How do you live your life? You've got to buy in. Got to buy in. Remember, you know the old story about the guy praying to God and saying, please, please, let me win the lottery. Let me win the lottery, Lord. Please let me win the lottery. It will make such a difference to my life. Over and over and over again. And eventually, God sent back. He said, meet me halfway, buy a ticket. You know, so you've got to join in. You've got to actually join in yourself. If you're trying to help people, and there's lots of you here help people in your jobs day by day. But if they're climbing the ladder and you're trying to help them, support them and push them up so they don't fall and you're putting them a little bit higher yourself. If they want to go up the ladder, isn't it easier than if they don't want to go up the ladder? If they don't want to go up the ladder, how hard's that, everybody? It's difficult, isn't it? And then it's only a matter of time where you think to yourself, I've done the best I can, as we must always do in life, to do that. Maybe this isn't the right relationship to pursue or whatever. So we just need to look at that. From a health standpoint, are you all active? Now, I'm not talking about doing marathons and this, that, and the other. Even if you want to do it, you can do it. That's brilliant. But I'm talking about just going for a walk every day. Stay moving. Stay moving. A little bit fresh air, moving. If you're in the house, and I've been in the house for a while, up and down the stairs and that type of thing. Not up and down and sweating. Just, you know, I've got a few stories here. And I go up to the top floor of my offices and I come back down and do this later on in the day. So at the end of the day, I've probably been up and down maybe about 30 times or whatever. Now, I would suppose if I had to do 30 times in a row, believe it or not, I would probably struggle. But just doing it day by day helps enormously. It really does help. Getting a bit fresh air helps. Just keeps you clear and keeps you on track. Great. What's your diet like? You know, for people on the call here who are very much into delivering excellent food and that type of thing. You know, when people say you are what you eat, it's very cliched, but it has some resonance. So that's quite important. Who do you spend time with? That's part of health as well. Who do you socialise with? Do you socialise with people that make you feel good? Don't socialise with people who don't make you feel good. Really, lots of people do that. Lots of people actually put up with people who don't make them feel good, and it drags them down. And you can't have that. All the successful teams that I've coached and supported in world sport and world business, they've all got on. That's been the purpose. The purpose has been that if they're in that environment anyway, and I tend to work at a reasonable level, if they're in that environment, they've probably been a little bit tried and tested from a personal skill standpoint in the past. But coming together with other people, how have they interacted? Have they eagerly interacted? Is it just something that just is it cooperation rather than collaboration? Collaboration's deeper than cooperation, isn't it? And that's what we've got to look at. So we've got to look at collaborating, sharing things, caring about people, all that type of thing. And that's what I need from teams, and that's what you need from your teams. And that's what we need from these little conversations like this as well. We need to share what we know, and we need to listen, take contact numbers, and maybe in the not too distant future or wherever, continue a conversation in more depth. You know, because it's like when it's just a few minutes, it can be a little bit superficial. Because if you don't know me, never met me before, you kind of don't know what I'm about. Now, you would find out what I'm about if we work together. Now, for me, it's great. All you need to do to work with me, really, to find out what I'm about is if you could work with me on a 20-year contract, and that could start straight after this at very competitive rates. That sounds good, doesn't it? Do that. But really, if we go back to the purpose, the preparing to do and the doing, probably the thing I would also like to get across is how you think is how you become. How you think is how you are really. That's one of the big things in life. One of the best books I've ever read was a book called As a Man Thinketh, which by James Allen, which is a fantastic book, written just at the turn of the century. And as a man thinketh, so will he be. How do you think? What are the little voices that go off in your head? You know, you've got self-talk, you've got small talk, and you've got team talk. Self-talk to yourself. How positive is that? How much do you believe in yourself and to believe in what you do? How much do you do that? The little noises of maybe negativity come into your mind once in a while. Do you rid them? Do you keep them at the door? Do you push the door shut and don't let them in? It's very important. I think it's been hugely important during the COVID situation, because during the COVID situation, you've either got to you've got to have a purpose anyway in life, no matter what it is, whether you're just in the house with a family or you're working or whatever you do, whatever we do, we've got to have a purpose. And that purpose has got to be compelling in our minds and compelling in our heart. And if that's the case, how best to service that all the time? And the best way to service is excellent self-talk. Just keep the talk you have, the thoughts you have, visualization and mental rehearsal that we're going to. How many people here use that? How many people use mental rehearsal and visualization for their meetings, for what to do, for internal meetings and for meetings with customers, for how you're going to do this or how you're going to do that? Does anybody do that here? Anybody? Well done, Brogan. I kind of picked up that you might, after what you were saying before. Very bright and bubbly, and obviously got lots of ambition, and it's good stuff. But you're missing a trick if you don't do it, by the way. Does everybody here keep a journal? I'm not talking about diary, everyone. I'm talking about keep a journal. Writing in the journal how you feel day by day. A journal that you don't see. Adam, one of our great pals, Johnny Wilkinson, if you remember when I first started with Johnny, when he was, a young kid really, Johnny's got him going all the way back. So every day, every event, everybody you meet has an effect on you. and the effect it has. There's an influence there. Everybody you meet influences you, and everybody you meet, you influence them as well. Yeah? In your journals, you should have a list of people that you meet all the time and how they made you feel. Do you have any of that? Don't miss a trick and go for it. Seriously, it's important. No matter how young you are, or no matter how old you are, if you're dead old, it still works. It still works. But really, get the journal's fantastic. So the small talk is important. Who do you have most of your small talk with? Who is in your inner circle? You as a person, who is in your inner circle? Who cares and supports for you? Who do you care and support for the most? In the businesses, there's one or two different startup businesses here. And in the small businesses, you've got to be together and you've got to share. And to share, you've got to think together. Not necessarily alike, but you've got to think together. And you'll only think together constructively if you care for each other and you believe in each other and you have a shared purpose going together. Huh? How many people have ideas that I haven't told anybody about yet within the organisation? How many people get those ideas and think the time's not right to do it? Huh? Happens, doesn't it? It happens. Got to share, everyone. Got to share. Keep sharing. Guess what happens? You get stuff back when you share. The two lads, I've got twin lads who are 40 years of age. And as part of their studies, they did an MBA. And in the MBA, I thought, wow, this is a great, what shall we say? Well, it was an opportunity. It was a great opportunity to do some research. So I told them, all the work that they did, I want you to put it on disk and give it to everybody else in the class. All your research, all your work, give it to everybody else on that MBA course. And they kind of said, what for, Dad? Why do you want to do all this work and just give it to everyone else? And I said, well, just bear with me. It's quite important. I've got something great to teach you and show you, so just go through. I'll fund it, but just everything you do, just hand it out. And the lads went into class and handed out all the work they'd done, the notes and everything, and the notes for the essays and the assignments and everything else. And I handed it out to everyone. And people said, you know, like, what's this for? Like, what do you want in return type of thing? And he said, oh, nothing. It's just to help you. If you don't want to use it, you can just throw it away, not a problem. But it's in the good intention. We want to help you well. That was because there's a lot of students from abroad, because they're bringing in a lot of money as well into the university. What tends to happen is they're big classes, especially the MBA classes, because it kind of costs a lot of money, as you all know. So there was about 80 people on the course. Now, they didn't all attend every week, but about 80 people on the course. Now, the strange thing is, or not the strange thing when you hear about it, is they started giving stuff back to Stephen and Mark. Because if you're kind to people, you get it back. It's the one thing in life you can't give away, being kind. You just can't give away being kind. Don't keep things secretive, you know? Just, you know when I heard that? I was about 11. And it's still the forefront of my mind because it still works. Being kind to people. The most they got back, everyone, was 38 pieces. So Stephen and Mark had their work they did, plus 38 other pieces of all the notes and everything else they sat in the other. Coming to the end of the year, and you know, with the reading and this and this and this, the two lads had fantastic results. Probably the best results that they'd ever had at the university. And the project worked. It was a collaborative project that was started with the best intention, but it also had pragmatic feedback. Can you see that? How many people do you help? How many people? Are you in competition with others? Or do you want to help them? Try to help everyone you meet. Now, because we've just got a certain amount of time, obviously you need to prioritize and focus who you give attention to, etc. But when you just come across people in the outside world, so to speak, try to help them as well. Try to be kind to them in that terms. In the COVID thing, one of the things I've done is try to stay connected. It was said before very early on by someone, staying connected is hugely important, massively important. On a telephone, on these Zoom things, by text, by what, just stay together. Tell people how much you care for them. You know, phone up to see how they are, how the kids are, how the family is, how the work's going, all that type of thing. Just keep on top of it. You recruit your friends daily, everybody. You've got to recruit people daily. And I come from a professional sporting world a lot of the time where we pay millions and millions of pounds for a player, and the player and their family can have anything, until we get the signature on the form. And when the signature comes on the form, I've seen people walk down corridors and thinking the person that's done the negotiating with them really cared for them, and they go, "Good morning," and the person just walks straight by them. That happens in the world, by the way, in the real world. That can happen. People use each other, but it's never good. It's never good. What you need to do is, if somebody's been working with you for 5, 10, 15, 20 years, or 3 months, you've got to treat them all the same. You've got to keep recruiting them. Keep recruiting people all the time. Keep them on board. Ask them how they're feeling. When's the last time you asked somebody how the best way for you to help and support them is a person emotionally? They're great questions to ask others. It's not a bad idea to tell the team how you like to be treated and how you like to be supported as well. These are base questions, but we tend not to do it. We tend to learn those things through a process of osmosis, just by turning up. And we learn bits and bits turning up. You can press the fast forward button and find out everything very, very quickly. And then service that. And then keep fine tuning. Service and fine tuning. Service and fine tuning. Think of yourself. How much are you helping personally the people that you work with? Try to get into your mind, when was the last time you had a good conversation with someone? If there's a few people, what tends to happen is you just speak to the people that you get on well with. No, that doesn't mean you ignore the other, but you predominantly do that. Try to share it out. Try to share it out. Love them as well, obviously. Love them dearly, but try to do that with everybody you meet. Now, in my world, the people who do their jobs need to be highly skilled, have a thirst for knowledge, subscribe to long-term, lifelong success, and have a thirst for executing things well. That's massively important. You need to do that. But none of that would work. None of it would work unless the people you worked with wanted you to win, whatever that means. You've got to want other people to win you work with. You've got to want your customers to win. And you've got to want to win for other people yourself. Just remove yourself from it. Is that, when I'm chatting like this, is there any questions? Just throw them out. I know there's going to be a question and answer thing later, but I'd prefer for you just to talk it up. And if there's any specific questions, then I can answer those as well. Come on, not all at once. Show discipline, everyone.
Well, just a comment really, Steve, because that's really resonated with me about wanting to help people, because I know I sit here and say I want to put policies in place for people, but actually it's coming from a place of help. Because I was self-employed for quite a number of years, business owner, and my son was critically ill a couple of years ago, and I needed to take 4 months off to look after him. And it really hit home how vulnerable you can be when you're ill.
Yes.
And I want to help other business owners and other employees to not feel that way where you're panicking. So I like that. I really like that. And that's to explain why you want to help people as well. I think that's really, really good.
Well, I think it's terrific being, you know, that's the story you've just said there. You know, I hope the ending turned out well in that situation.
Well, it's a long time.
But you know, we press out with you on that, because it's massively important in your life. You know, there's business and then there's real life as well, and I know they affect both, but the priority is definitely with that. You know, if you help people, you feel great yourself, don't you? You feel great yourself. And sometimes the best time to help people is if you're not feeling too good. And if you're not feeling too good yourself for whatever reason, because life throws things at you, and that still being able to have a mindset that you want to help people and you want to contribute helps you through any time. And people, sometimes you've got to have little calls like this where you say, what I need to do is I need to build up a team of people that I could talk to when I'm feeling like this. Now, it may not be just professional people, i.e. counselling or whatever, which obviously has its place, but it can be just people that you could pick up and talk to about how things are going on that particular day. Yeah. So you're just connected with people. You're just having this type of chat with people all the time. Now, that helps you enormously, doesn't it? Feeling that you're still part of the community, that you're still part of, and you're having in a circle that you can go to, and that's massively important. But you've got to know that you're still held in value of people. You're still respected by people, and people still think you're worthy presence in their life, all that type of thing. That's massive for everybody you work with. How good are you lot at praising people that you work with? When's the last time you told them how much they matter to you? You know? It's not twee. It's not twee at all. It actually matters enormously. If you realise the number of deals that we've been able to do on the back of great relationships and caring, you would do it. You would, if you also realised the effect of a negative thought, the effect of a series of negative thoughts on you. My God, unbelievable. You would try never to have another one in your life. You know, there was something around all those things. You know, if you think you can or think you can't, you're probably right. So you've got to think you can. You've got to believe in. If you don't believe in yourself, why should anybody else? Really? So you've got to keep believing in yourself all the time. Is that a hand goes up there?
It is. It is, Steve.
Yeah.
Because I work with young people, I just wanted to interject and just
Yeah.
say that in the 25 years plus that I've worked with children in a variety of ways, but 25 years in teaching, the thing that comes across the most is exactly what you're saying. I completely, fully agree with everything you're saying, because I've had really, really talented children from very disadvantaged backgrounds, and if they don't have belief, if they don't have that one person who believes in them,
yeah,
they'll never do anything.
Yeah, you need somebody to champion your cause, Lisa, don't you?
You need a champion.
Yeah.
Champion. And more than ever, people probably will think, oh, it's great, they go to school, they sit down, they're quiet, they do the work. That's completely against collaboration.
Yes.
So sometimes, although it's kind of irritating to teachers, sometimes they need to do that talking, you know, and they need those friendships, and they need that peer group, they need support, they need it in sport, you know,
they do,
all especially, all these
relationships. It work. You need it everywhere.
You need it. You just need that. Yeah. And unfortunately, at the moment in schools, just so to give a bit of an overview, quite a lot of academy chains have extremely harsh environments, which are very strict, almost Victorian, and children are reprimanded for very, very minor, problems. So that kind of, for some children, holds them back. It makes them shrink back into themselves. Yeah. So if as a parent, or you know any parents whose children are in those schools, and they're kind of feeling, oh, that's great, they're going the right way, they're going to get great results like that, what you're saying is kind of teaching another side of that, where yes, you do need to sit down, listen and learn and pass exams, but you also at the end of that come out and you're a person who has to work in the world of work. Right, yeah. And that's not by sitting down and being quiet.
Yeah. You've got each interaction you have, it's an opportunity to shape somebody.
Yeah.
And that opportunity to shape people is it's at school, it's in the workplace, it's in recreation, it's chats like this. it's everywhere. You're right. Now, if people are saying, we need discipline, well, kind of, we do need discipline, but it doesn't need to be harsh. You just need to shape people to do the right thing. As Marcus Aurelius said, if it's not right, don't do it. If it's not true, don't say it. That's a pretty good book, isn't it? Yeah. 2 quotations. They're marvelous things. You haven't got to remember much else after that, really. And if you try to live up to that, wow, that's great, And then we used to go through all these things all the time. With everybody I've ever worked through, went through these things. So if I'm with a multinational, and I'll start with that with the board, going through it all. How many people are you touching emotionally in the organisation? What's happening there? Are you spreading the message? Do you believe in the message? Do you care about the message? Are you passionate about it? Everybody that spoke already so far today, it cares about what they do. And that's fantastic. Believe it or not, some people don't really care about what they do. And that's kind of quite sad. Now, it can appear to be so basic it's beyond belief. But as Einstein said, as simple as possible, but not simpler. Not simpler. But as simple as possible. Let us all understand what we're trying to achieve, how we're doing it, who we need to recruit to help us get there, who they need to recruit. They need to recruit us to come on board to support and care for them. Now, some of the support, as the relationship develop, can be, a little bits of advice and this and this and this. But also, you can be fantastic support just by listening and be there for someone, and they've got the answer within them. They have the answer within them, and it's just got to be brought out. How many people work to their potential? Vicky, did you have a question, or were you just waving at me? Mm-hmm. A question? Hello?
A little bit of both. I
good.
just wanted to kind of pick up on what you were saying about that kind of simplicity stuff, really.
Yes.
And just a really, really interesting observation that I've made while you've been talking.
Yeah.
In the environment that I work in, we talk a lot about something called 5 ways to well-being, and I don't know whether you've ever heard about it before. But again, just really, really, really basic stuff around connecting with people, staying active, being in the present moment, learning something new, and all of those things that are really, really healthy for our well-being. You have talked and hit on every single one of them. And what's really, really interesting to me is that you've probably been doing that for a very, very, very long time. It's just part of your core values and the way that you work and what you think. Even before we had the 5 ways. Sorry?
This beard used to be darker at one stage in my life. So it is quite a long time, you're right.
I just find it really interesting. I just find it really interesting that everything that we talk to people about, there are 5 simple things that you can do in life that are really, really useful for well-being. And, like you said, keeping on top of things. You've mentioned and gave examples of every single one of them, and probably way before we ever had that 5 ways to well-being that we've been talking about for, the past 10 years. So I just found that really interesting. And again, it doesn't have to be a massive thing. Could just be a really simple thing, like keeping in touch with people or developing a new interest, hobby, going for a walk, whatever that is.
All that stuff, Vicky. And actually, it's good you say that, because there's always, 7 hours, 5, this and this and this and all these numbers, and they're good for remembering things. But I have 5 that are daily. I do this daily, really. And what I do every day, I look at how much energy I've got and how much I'm engaged. Energy, engagement, what I'm putting into it, effort, hard work, smart, whatever you want to say, but all under really effort. So number 1's effort, how much effort you're putting in. Secondly, how much skill are you putting in? Are you, you've got tasks to do. Do you want to do them as well as you possibly can? Yes, of course you do. But the quality, the high standards of your work are massively important. That's number 2. So that's the second thought. What's that going to be like? And then I review them at the night time as well when I write the journal up every day for 47 years, I think it is at the minute. Every day I keep a journal like that. So I just keep going through. The third one is interaction, relationships. You know, how have I made my colleagues feel? How have I made everybody that I've met feel? How have I made them feel? Have I listened to them when they needed to be listened to? Have I been there for them? Have I passed on little things that I thought would really work for them? So that's the quality of interaction, either with colleagues, customers, a little bit with yourself. You know, that self-talk stuff? How have you interacted with yourself as well, Jonah? The fourth one is, in the past, I struggled with this through the years. The fourth one, because the fourth one is reputation. Now, I was told from a spiritual background, thousands of years ago, that it's who your character is what counts. That's who you really are. Reputation is just what someone else thinks of you. And they mightn't actually know who you are. So the character is the most important, and I do accept that. But reputation matters. It does matter. Make no mistake about it. So the youngsters there, make no doubt about it, your reputation matters. Because you know what it does? It opens doors. It opens doors. And if it opens doors, it allows you to help more people. Isn't that right? So everybody on the call here, you've all got clients and this, that, and the other. Would you like to have more clients? Would you like to help more people with the service that you provide? And I think the answer is yes, isn't it, on that one? The next one after that is just benefits, recognition and reward. Benefits, recognition and reward. What benefit do you get from doing what you're doing? You know, I think at this stage in my life, at this stage in my career, the main feedback I get is intrinsic. My intrinsic feeling of thinking, yeah, when I had that little conversation, when we spoke, speaking with Lisa there, or you know, with you all there, did I pass something on that was it worthwhile? Could it possibly be worthwhile in the future? You know, and if they went away and thought about what we've done this morning, is it something that maybe they would think, hey, well, I do that, and of course I have thought of that because we're not reinventing the wheel, but maybe this fella seems to have a priority of doing that. And I've had that priority, and it's worked, everybody. I don't say this for any other reasoning, just to get this point across to you. It's worked all over the world at every level. I've coached Olympic gold medalists. I've coached World Cup winning teams, European Cup winning teams. We've won domestic leagues in England and France. I've worked in America, in NFL, NBA. I've worked throughout the whole of the world. I've won Coach of the Year, Sports Personality of the Year, Business Person. I've won all those things all over. And if you said how's that it come about? It's come about with two things. First of all, I'm obsessive. I'm totally and utterly obsessive. I've got in the library over 30,000 books here. And I read and I read and I read and I write and I write and I write. I do that. But I talk and listen and talk and listen day by day as well. So every situation that I'm in, I try to get something from it. Try to. That's the intention, to get something from it. Does it always work that way? Well, sometimes not. But I try to do that. Try to do it. Anything from anybody else?
Yeah, me please. I just want to say thank you very much for everything that you've said today, because it was super inspiring and I loved everything that you've said. And I wanted to ask you as well, do you do any work off the point with what Lisa said, do you do any work with children? You do? Okay, cool. Because I wanted to share a little bit about myself as well, with what resonated with me when Lisa said that. Yeah. Because I think I've always had a champion. I've had two, actually, my mum and my dad, always. However, great. I think that unless you're championing yourself and you believe in yourself, then it doesn't really matter, because I've always dreamed big, always. It's been a thing that my dad thinks I'm mental with, and my mum's like, yeah, carry on. But whether I believe in the fact that I can do it or not, I don't know, but and I think that started from me being a kid, because I've always wanted to be, and I think, and I'm not sure if Antonio remembered this or not, but the first time I ever met Antonio, I said, oh my God, wow, I'd love to do what you do. But I said to her, but when I was at school, I got told I had dyslexia, and she said, well, you're going to need to sort that out first. And actually, I don't believe that I ever did have dyslexia, and I've done a journalism degree now, and I certainly don't believe that I've got dyslexia now. But that tiny little thing, if I didn't push and push and push and do my own self-development off my own back, I don't even know how I found it, to be honest. I don't know how it started. But unless I did that, I don't believe that I would ever be where I am right now.
It's a lovely story. And there was possibly a time in your life where you had a dyslexia wish list.
Yeah.
It's something to blame something on. You know, I can't quite get there because I'm not.
Yeah.
And sometimes you've just got to find out what's your thing, what turns you on, what you're good at, all that type of thing. I've got a great attitude. This isn't made up. I suppose I get on people's nerves. I'm like this all the time. But ultimately, at the end of the day, I know what I'm not good at as well, by the way.
Yeah.
So no matter what great attitude I've got, I wasn't going to break the world high jump record. You know, I could have said I could have done lots of visualization and mental rehearsal and believe and all that stuff, and I still wouldn't be able to jump over 3 or 4 evening corridors or whatever, because I'm just not made that way.
Yeah.
When I was like lifting in the strength type stuff, you know, there used to be a program on the television called The Incredible Hulk. Is anybody old enough to remember that? Yeah. And I remember I competed against the guy who took the part as the Hulk, Lou Ferrigno he was called, you know. And I beat him in both San Francisco and in Chicago, and on the strength side of things. And at that time, my belief in that part of my life, I felt like I could just pick the house up and throw it, you know. And so I've never lacked in confidence, because the champions in my life were exactly the same as yours.
Yeah.
Were parents, grandparents, aunties and uncles, you know, the people around me like that. And I seem to collect people all through my life that were like that as well.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know whether it was because at an early age I expected people to be like that, and maybe I drew those people towards me, and I was drawn towards them, because I remember when I first started working with a friend of Adam's as well, Johnny Williams, who's had a fantastic career, and I still coach him now, but it was we just met and just forged a relationship straight away, because he was as balmy as me. He was completely crazy as well. He was obsessed with things, but for all the right reasons. He wanted to do it well, but he wasn't, you know, we've all got egos, but it wasn't necessarily for him to get the plaudits. It was for the teammates to get the plaudits. And I remember the last game that he ever had, were playing in Paris, full stadium, and it was Johnny's last game. People would say maybe on that particular game, he could go out and just show his full repertoire of skills and everything. But he didn't do that. What he did was what was right for the team. It's incredible, isn't it? What was right for the team he did. So after hundreds of games and everything else, last big game, we went through the checklist that we always did before games. And in this particular game was what the opposition offered, and what the team we had needed to do this, this, and this. And that's exactly what he did. You know? Now, lots of people don't do that. Lots of people say, last game, let's empty the cupboard, let's get everything out and do it. Now, you might enjoy doing that, but it mightn't be in the best interests of the people around you, you know? And sometimes we've all got to do that, everyone, haven't we? We've all got to say, I want to mention that, You've got about 20 minutes, Blackie, calm down. Generally, I'm doing this for hours and days and whatever. So 20 minutes, the only way I can get anything out of today for you is to try to connect with you emotionally, really, to show that side of it. you know, rather than going in different depth. I remember going to the RFU, the National Rugby Association, and I was speaking to all the head coaches, and the guy who recruited me to do that at the time, by the way, this is thousands of years ago, said, Blackie, I want you to come along and I want you to bamboozle everyone. I want you to make them feel ill at ease with their ignorance so they don't know. I want you to go into so much depth from a scientific standpoint and learning standpoint in this and all learning styles, this, that, and the other, how to get on board, but go into so much depth that I've got no idea what's going on. I say, this is like something off the Fast Show. It's like, why would you want to do that? I've spent my whole life trying to go the other way, taking complicated issues and simplifying them so people understand. And he says, oh, it's important. If you don't do that and you just go in simple, they'll think you don't know all that stuff. And if you know all that stuff, they'll listen to you more when you get onto the simple stuff. So the first session I had to bamboozle. The next session that could be me. But he said, because of that first session, because of that, people would listen to me. And it's amazing how many people stay in the bamboozling section. Stay with ridiculously over the top jargon. You know, let's just speak plainly about things. And one of the plainest things he would say to somebody is, I'm here for you. I'm here to help you in any which way. So whatever you want, just now, if I can't support you in that particular way, I'll recruit somebody who can. You know, so to make somebody feel confident in no matter what decisions I'm trying to make, we're going to get to a time and a place where the toolbox is adequate, completely adequate all the time. It's a few little divergences from restaurants and cafes to delivering the food and all that type of thing, Carl, isn't it? All slightly different things. And then building up a reputation and then being able to do that and build on it and build on it and build on it. And who knows, in a few years' time, you don't know where that business of yours will be. Like, huge, massive. Why not? Why not? No reason why not, is there? No reason why not.
No, not at all.
Not at all. So it's the same with us. Anything else? Anybody not had even a comment, you know? Not a problem.
Really good, Fab.
Yeah, and yeah. Great stuff. Great from you all. If I ask you all, you know, at first Antonio, when he said that was like a minute and a half or 2 minutes for everybody. Well, can I do that? And can I give you about 15 seconds? And just say, each and every one of you, just say, I want you to pass on to us all, hey, myself included, myself mostly, one thing that you, a little bit advice you would give across the board to other human beings for how to get through this life in a more productive way that might lead to that awful word called happiness. Because I'll never catch on with it, that happiness thing. Never mind.
I'll start.
Really? Just, yeah?
Yeah, I would say always be authentic.
Yeah.
And just do what you're passionate about.
Yeah, great. Fantastic. That's superb. I couldn't agree with it more. Yeah.
I've always said treat everybody the way you would expect to be treated yourself.
Yeah.
And be kind to everyone.
Yeah. Lovely stuff. Generally known as the golden rule. Hey, that's the base of everything. I've tried to turn it into the platinum rule through the years and treat people as they would like to be treated.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
You know, rather than treat as how, because I'm a strange type person. So if you treat people like I would like to be treated, then they can be very happy. but really, it's part, you know, it's part of a relationship, isn't it? To find out what turns people on and then give me. One of the great things I learned in coaching was at Chicago Bears American football team. And the coach there said, the best thing I've ever heard in coaching, find out what the player wants to do, then prescribe it to them. And he said it was the start of a great relationship. Wow, it's great, isn't it? Prescribe it to them, then you start working with them. then you start shaping things if you need to, you know. Hey, thanks very much, Christine. Anyone else?
Yeah, I just think, you know, believe in yourself, because if you don't believe in yourself, nobody else will.
Dead right. And we've mentioned that, haven't we, Howard, early on, and you're right, and we should never stop mentioning that. Because you've got to believe in yourself. Really, you have. If you know you've got good intentions, you've got nothing to be sorry for. I say to the teams I work with, you know, football, rugby, basketball, whatever, all the different teams, I say at the end of it, if you win, lose or draw, move on. Move on. Because if your intention was to play well, your intention was to do well, and you give the very best you had on that particular day, the very best you had on that day, and it didn't quite go your way, forget it and move on. Totally move on. There was a thing that used to happen, still happens in professional football, where a team gets beat and everything's analysed. Analysed up until like this. It gets to the Thursday or the Friday, and then somebody goes, "Excuse me, boss, we're playing tomorrow, you know." We're not getting ready to play that team. We've been playing the game last Saturday again all week, and it's kind of ridiculous. But people do that type of thing, and there's too much analysis. The fella called Arsene Wenger. Anybody remember Arsene Wenger?
Yeah.
And he had the best winning run. I had the best winning run in the football league, but with the football team. But he had the best winning run in the Premiership. 49 games unbeaten, and they got beaten a game. And when they got beaten that game, it was a tight game. It was, you know, you could say did they deserve to win, not deserve to win, much of a muchness. But it was a defeat. But what he did wrong was he analysed why. Instead of saying, well, let's just win the next 49 as well. You know, let's do our best what we've been doing for 49 games. Let's not change it that much. We're probably not going to learn. There's probably been a little bounce off someone's back or whatever. But things were analysed too much. Now, I love all that analysis stuff, I really do. But I only use it, to be perfectly honest, to back up the emotional side. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So all that to say that happened. So in the emotion of the moment, and it happens at work as well. You see things, sometimes you can get caught up in that relationship and not have a broader view. So you can check with statistics. So all good stuff. Next.
What goes around comes around.
And it does.
Is my mantra. Because I try and help as many people as I can, because I just think, not just that, I like the nice warm fuzzy feeling. But I just think people remember you for being nice.
They do.
And then when they need something, they come to you. And I just think, if everyone just tries to be a bit nicer, the world would be happy.
Cheryl, that's great, because you're dead right. Some people forget dates. You know, as you're getting older. I forgot dates when I was young.
Me too.
You forget dates as you're getting older, and you forget this and that and that. Tell you what you don't forget. How somebody or some situation made you feel.
Exactly.
How it made you feel.
Yeah.
Deep within you. Now that's more important than stats, isn't it? That's more important than stats. That's kind of what makes us human beings. It's one of the things that makes us stand out. But thanks very much, Cheryl, on that.
I also think, leading on from what Cheryl said, I think a smile is so important, and to be passionate about everything that you do, because it comes across, it makes people feel at ease and ready to listen to you. Absolutely. And then you can help them. Yeah.
Janice, what you haven't said, but I know you're thinking, Steve, you've got a fantastic Hollywood smile. I know you were thinking that. And there it is, everybody, look.
Yeah, it's great.
What a marvellous smile. I can't believe that's me that I'm looking at. But never mind. No, but you're in all seriousness, you're dead right. You're dead right. Anything else?
I've got a couple of things, Steve.
Get it out there, Alison. Bring it on.
One, can I have Johnny's contact details? I'd love them.
Apparently, he was available to go to the pictures on Thursday night with someone, but they've closed the cinemas down. Just don't look there, Alison. Just don't look there. I can't believe it. But
actually, I met him at Kingston Park when my son played rugby there, did some courses. And I was that nervous, I switched my camera off while I was trying to take a picture instead of took the picture. I had to stand a little bit longer, and I'm like, I'm so sorry. And he was a lovely guy.
Oh, it's fantastic. And he would sign all the autographs and everything as well.
Absolutely.
You know, after the game, we played Gloucester away, and Gloucester in about 14,000 or something there. And there was a big group of people, loads of kids, and everything, waiting for the autograph and that. And obviously they were all for Johnny. So when he's outside signing them, and the lads were on the bus wanting to get back to Newcastle after the game. You know how long this is quite a famous incident, this. Over 2 hours. And the lads were like on the bus going, oh, I get home. You know? But he wouldn't leave until he'd signed and got photos taken with all the kids, because it mattered to him.
Yeah.
That's kind of special, isn't it?
Yeah, never forget where you've come from.
Exactly, definitely. The other players were trying to go back where they came from.
I think my mantra in this era as well is it'll all be okay in the end, and if it's not okay, it's not the end. So remember that and try it.
That's a nice thought. That's a lovely thought, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a lovely thought, you know. There's an American football coach called Vince Lombardi, very, very famous football coach. Probably one of the greatest coaches in any sport anywhere, really, and went on to do great things in business. And he said, we never, ever lost a game. Time just ran out.
Yeah.
So it can be a bit like that, can't it?
Absolutely.
We can't get too down if things go against us.
Yeah.
And if somebody has a different opinion, we mustn't get angry with them. You know, we must actually think, well, maybe they're trying to help. And it's just a different view, and we've all got different views.
Yeah.
So sometimes this great word feedback sometimes can cause so many problems for all the wrong reasons. Because if people give feedback and the feedback isn't exactly as the person wants to hear, then actually, you know, you can feel a tension. And the person can think they're being criticised, but kind of they're not. And the best teams and the best companies actually have lots of that. That's why I said before, the best thing you can do is think together, not necessarily alike. Not necessarily alike.
Yeah, that fits with mine, Steve. The mantra that I say to myself is always that it will pass. So if
and it will pass.
Or if I'm upset about something.
But both will, Antonia. Both will, you know. Happiness will pass. If you kind of walk around like that all day, really you can't.
Don't make decisions on temporary. Don't make permanent decisions on temporary feelings.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So you know, you've got to. One of Albert Schweitzer once said, "The trouble with people is they don't think, don't take time to think." And in an era of instant gratification, you've got to show great discipline to take time to think. You know, it'll catch on eventually, this thinking log, you know, honestly. And you don't need a decision in 0.37 seconds, because you haven't got to be the Usain Bolt of business. It's got to be, has anybody read the book Principles by Ray Dalio?
No.
Go and read it. Gotta go and read it. It's a great book. So what he said, Ray Dalio, one of the richest people in the world, but one of the great businessmen in the world, used to think is the head of it all. He knew it all. He knew everything. He's got a final say, he knew everything. Until he lost about $900 million by having that. And didn't realise that the team, my team that I've got here today, have got so much skills and ability and knowledge. Maybe I should have talked it through with them, and maybe I should have listened. So the book, it's must be about 400 or 500 pages, but the message is really, in effect, you've got to come up with the best decision. Not your best decision, the best decision in the moment. I think that's quite powerful, everybody.
Yeah.
The best decision. You know?
I would say, Steve, that one of the biggest things I always try and think about is you can't pour from an empty glass. And I think, you know, a lot of people think that practicing self-care is a very selfish thing, but actually it's that oxygen mask thing, isn't it? How can we look after other people and support other people if we're not doing it for ourselves and we're not good in ourselves?
Oh, that's a great point. Haven't heard that one, by the way. Haven't heard that one all these years, and I haven't heard that one. The thing pouring from empty glasses and all that. That's fantastic, but it's true. That's what we've got to do. You know, we've got to do, and I get wrong off my wife. Good job's not in the room because why do you keep bringing all these books and magazines in? What is this all about? And I just keep doing them and building them, doing them, building them in. Now, fortunately, I've passed that on to my 3 kids. My 3 kids are avid readers. Exactly, they've got nice libraries and everything at the time. But I'll tell you what I thought many years ago. I heard somebody say, they were mentioning about, you know, this programme on the television, Coronation Street. And I heard it was a conversation on a bus or something. And someone said about Coronation Street. And the person with them said, oh, that's rubbish. I'm not watching things. I don't watch that. And after really complaining like this, the other person that was talking about this Coronation Street said, have you ever seen it? Oh, no, I haven't seen it, but I don't like it. And you go, oh, bullseye. That's balmy. So to comment on things, you've kind of got to put yourself in those positions. So I read loads of things that are on the bookshelf. I would probably say, I don't necessarily really agree with that author's former work that I've read. But sometimes you pick up brilliant things by just having an open mind. So when people say, what's a great book? Well, to a certain degree, most of them are great books in some regard. Not all the way through. Sometimes there's lots of things you don't agree with, but there'll be some that you go, wow, that resonates, that's fantastic. But you've got to read it to find out.
Dave, that's a bit like in Rebel Ideas by Matthew Said. He talks about echo chambers.
Yeah, I was going to do